Forbidden metaphysics secrets are no longer hidden. They call to you now. As you listen, you'll awaken to the understanding that your inner world creates the outer, and the laws of reality respond to you with flawless precision. Enter this ancient wisdom and claim your mastery over life itself. Forbidden Metaphysics Secrets. Introduction. Long ago, in the hidden corridors of sacred temples and mystery schools, certain truths were jealously guarded. These were not gentle philosophies or soothing mantras, but the precise laws of existence itself, metaphysical principles that wove the very fabric of reality. Now you stand at the threshold of this concealed wisdom, ready to receive what was once reserved only for the few who could bear its power. The universe does not sway with chance or whim. Its currents move with exactness, perfect as mathematics, reliable as the sunrise, responding to the subtle energies of thought, feeling, and belief. Every circumstance, every encounter, every unfolding moment is shaped by the invisible signals your consciousness sends forth. What lies ahead is no ordinary guidance. This is a technology of awareness, a sacred art of creation, honed and protected through the ages. Those who wielded it knew that power without understanding could shatter worlds, yet power guided by wisdom could unlock freedom beyond imagining. Your reality is no mere happenstance. It is the mirror of your inner state, sculpted by your assumptions, colored by your emotions, and anchored in your self-belief. These are exact principles, working with flawless precision, not poetic suggestions. You are now called to enter the gateway of these forbidden secrets. What you are about to receive is not for the casual seeker, but for the awakening master, one prepared to navigate and shape the unseen currents of existence. With it comes a responsibility as immense as the power it bestows. Before we get into the book, comment, "I am ready," to affirm your intention to the universe. Part 1. The Awakening of the Forgotten Initiate. Chapter 1. The Whisper Beneath Reality. In a quiet village among rolling hills, Eleanor Hayes noticed something peculiar about her life. On mornings when she woke feeling light and optimistic, unexpected gifts would appear. A forgotten book discovered in her attic held exactly the wisdom she needed, or a chance encounter would open new doors. Yet on days when worry clouded her heart, even simple tasks became arduous, and obstacles materialized from nowhere. At first, Eleanor dismissed these patterns as coincidence. But as seasons passed, she could no longer deny the invisible thread connecting her inner world to outer events. When she felt abundant inside, her garden yielded a surplus of vegetables. When she harbored secret doubts, her plants withered despite identical care. The truth you must grasp is both simple and revolutionary. The world around you is not fixed or arbitrary, but a living mirror reflecting your internal state. Before a word leaves your lips or an action springs from your hands, the quality of your consciousness has already set forces in motion. Like a subtle perfume that precedes someone entering a room, your inner tone announces to the universe what you truly expect and believe. This is the first key to mastering the hidden laws. Understanding that external circumstances do not create your inner state. Rather, your inner state creates your external circumstances. The universe responds not to your words or wishes, but to the unwavering signal broadcast by your deepest assumptions and feelings. Walter Green discovered this truth through an unexpected chapter in his life. For years, he approached his work with underlying resentment, telling himself that success always favored others. His business limped along accordingly. Then one morning, something shifted within him, not through any outer change, but through a spontaneous release of his bitter expectations. That very afternoon, a long-delayed payment arrived, and a new client appeared with an exciting proposal. Walter had changed nothing in his external actions. He made no new plans or strategies. Yet the moment his inner tone shifted from resignation to possibility, the world rearranged itself to match his new frequency. The universe had always been listening not to his words or actions, but to the quiet broadcast of his consciousness. These tales mirror the creative power you hold in every moment. Like Eleanor and Walter, you are constantly sending signals into the universal field through your inner state. Every assumption you carry, every emotion you harbor, every expectation you hold, becomes instruction for the infinite intelligence that shapes circumstances. To begin working with this principle, establish this practice. For 7 days, pause morning, noon, and evening to simply witness your inner tone without changing it, observing how your quiet state shapes your unfolding reality. Chapter 2. The Hidden Layer Beneath the World. Along the bustling streets of a merchant's quarter, Samuel Price managed his family's textile shop just as his father had before him. Each morning, he would observe the same scene: vendors arranging their wares, customers haggling over prices, the endless exchange of coins and goods. Yet one autumn morning, something shifted in his perception. As he watched a wealthy merchant reject a length of silk, Samuel noticed how the man's disdain seemed to ripple through the air, affecting not just the dejected seller, but the entire atmosphere of the marketplace. In that moment, the physical world became transparent, revealing a deeper reality pulsing beneath its surface. The transactions he witnessed were not merely about cloth and coin, but about the invisible currents of thought and feeling that preceded every exchange. You too exist within this dual reality. The physical world you navigate daily is but the final expression of deeper forces at work. Every circumstance, every encounter, every success or challenge manifests first in the unseen realm of consciousness before taking solid form. This is the first key to understanding the true nature of manifestation. The visible world is the effect, never the cause. Like ripples on a pond's surface that reveal the stone thrown beneath, your external reality reflects the movements of consciousness that precede it. When you grasp this truth, you begin to shift your attention from manipulating effects to addressing their metaphysical source. In a distant city, Clara Whitfield faced impending financial ruin. Her small bookshop, once thriving, had fallen into decline. Yet, rather than fixate on dwindling sales and mounting debts, Clara made a curious choice. She began to see her empty shop not as evidence of failure, but as space being cleared for something new. She interpreted her financial constraints not as lack, but as an invitation to creative solutions. Within weeks, the very emptiness she had reframed became her advantage. She transformed her shop into a gathering space for writers and artists, hosting evening readings that drew crowds. The same circumstances that threatened to break her instead became the foundation of her reinvention. Clara's story mirrors your own power to pierce the veil of surface reality. The circumstances you face are not solid facts, but fluid interpretations, waiting to be transformed by your conscious awareness. Ancient practice of causation. Sit in silence. Look beyond the situation's surface. Identify the inner belief or emotion creating it, and record the cause you uncover. Chapter 3. The Forbidden Principle of Causal Thought. In a secluded mountain monastery, Augustus Miller sought answers to the mysteries that plagued his trading ventures. Despite his careful planning, his business fortunes rose and fell like leaves in an autumn wind. One evening, as he watched the monastery's master tend to withering plants in the garden, Augustus noticed something remarkable. The master would pause before each plant, close his eyes in deep contemplation, and only then begin his work. Within days, the plants he tended flourished while others remained weak. "The plants respond not to my hands," the master explained, catching Augustus's questioning gaze, "but to the garden I have already grown in my mind." This truth lies at the heart of all creation. The physical world you experience is not the starting point of manifestation, but its final expression. Every circumstance, every condition, every experience begins first as a seed in the soil of consciousness. This knowledge, guarded through ages, reveals that thought is not merely a passive observer of reality. It is a metaphysical command that the universe must obey. When you think, you are not simply processing information. You are issuing instructions to the very fabric of existence. Each thought carries a creative force that shapes the unseen blueprint of your reality. This is why the ancient wisdom keepers taught that mindless thinking was more dangerous than any external threat. Your thoughts are not contained within your mind. They ripple outward, organizing the substance of the universe according to their nature. The power of this principle becomes clear through the journey of Mabel Carter, a potter whose works were admired but never sold. For years, she began each day thinking, "I must find a way to sell my pottery." Yet success eluded her until an old woman shared a secret. The universe responds not to what you want to change, but to what you have already changed within. Mabel understood. Instead of focusing on future sales, she began each day embodying the consciousness of a celebrated artisan whose works were cherished in homes across the land. Within months, her pottery began selling faster than she could create it. She had discovered that circumstances don't change until consciousness changes first. This truth mirrors your own creative power. Every pattern in your life traces back to a thought that gave it birth. The outer world arranges itself to match your inner assumptions with perfect precision. This is not wishful thinking, but a metaphysical law as exact as mathematics. Ancient practice of root thought tracing. Trace a recurring pattern back to its original belief, hold it without judgment, then plant a new thought in its place each morning for 7 days. Chapter 4. The Oath of the Silent Initiates. In the quiet corners of an antiquarian bookshop, Nora Franklin discovered a leather-bound journal bearing her family crest. As she opened its weathered chapters, golden symbols awakened something within her blood. Memories of a sacred lineage that once guarded the secrets of reality's true nature. Each page revealed that her ancestors were not mere scholars, but keepers of metaphysical wisdom, sworn to protect humanity's divine creative power. The knowledge you now encounter stirs the same remembrance in your soul. Deep within you lies the sleeping memory of an ancient oath, one taken lifetimes ago when you stood among those who understood the sacred responsibility of conscious creation. This is not new learning, but a reawakening to what your spirit has always known. The power to shape reality was never meant to be wielded without wisdom. Those who came before understood that thoughts were not merely passive reflections, but active forces that commanded the universal mind. They recognized that such knowledge required guardianship, for creation without consciousness leads to chaos. You are not discovering these principles by chance. Your soul carries the imprint of this sacred trust, waiting to be remembered. The stirring you feel as you read these words is your spirit recognizing its own reflection, the echo of an oath that transcends time. In a distant valley, Silas Harding lived as a simple farmer until dreams of ancient temples began haunting his nights. Each morning he would rise before dawn, sitting in silence as his inner knowing grew stronger. Through disciplined practice and quiet devotion, he gradually reclaimed his forgotten role as a keeper of these eternal truths. His transformation came not through external teaching, but through allowing his soul's ancient wisdom to resurface. Just as Silas remembered his true identity through inner dedication, you too are being called to reclaim your place in this timeless lineage. The resonance you feel with these teachings is no coincidence. It is your soul recognizing its own sacred commitment to conscious creation, sacred practice, the renewal of the ancient oath. Place your hand on your heart, speak the vow of conscious creation, and let its ancient truth awaken within you. Chapter 5. Perception as the first seal of power. In a time before written history, there lived a master sculptor named Edwin Burke. Though his hands could shape the finest marble, his greatest limitation was not his skill, but his vision. Each morning, he walked past an immense block of stone in his courtyard, seeing only its rough exterior. "This stone holds nothing of value," he would mutter, hurrying past. One dawn, a wandering sage paused at his gate. "What masterpiece lies within that stone?" the sage inquired. Edwin laughed bitterly. "Nothing lies within but more stone." The sage smiled knowingly. "Then that is precisely what you shall find." He touched Edwin's forehead gently. "Look again, but this time, see with your inner eye." As Edwin gazed upon the stone once more, something extraordinary occurred. The morning light revealed not just one possible form within the rock, but hundreds, angels and warriors, dancers and dreamers, each waiting to be released. In that moment, Edwin understood that his perception had been the only barrier between possibility and manifestation. Your journey mirrors Edwin's awakening. The universe operates not through rigid laws, but through the fluid dynamics of perception. What you allow yourself to see becomes the foundation of what you can create. This is the first seal of metaphysical power, the understanding that perception is not passive observation, but active creation. When you declare something impossible, you seal off entire corridors of potential. When you expand your perception to embrace new possibilities, you unlock doorways to previously invisible timelines. This is not mere positive thinking. It is the metaphysical mechanism by which reality orchestrates itself around your point of awareness. Consider the nature of light. Before you perceive it, light exists as both wave and particle. It is your active observation that collapses infinite potential into specific form. So too with every aspect of your experience. Your perception does not simply record reality. It participates in its creation. In a distant valley lived Ruth Ellison, a weaver who crafted beautiful tapestries. Yet she believed her work would never be seen beyond her small village. "The world is too vast," she would say, "and I am too small." Each day she wove magnificent patterns, seen only by passing travelers. One night, as she sat at her loom, a mysterious merchant examined her work. "Your tapestries tell stories that need to be heard," he said. "But first you must see beyond these valley walls." He placed a crystal in her hands. "Look through this, and tell me what you see." Through the crystal, Ruth saw her tapestries hanging in grand halls, bringing comfort to troubled hearts, inspiring other artists across distant lands. She saw how her work could touch lives she would never meet. As tears fell from her eyes, the crystal dissolved into light, but the expansion of her perception remained. Within months, Ruth's tapestries began traveling far beyond the valley. Not because the world had changed, but because she had allowed herself to perceive a larger possibility. Her hands wove the same patterns, but now they carried the energy of her expanded vision. Ruth's journey reflects your own potential for transformation. Like her, you stand at the threshold of greater possibilities. The only question is, what will you allow yourself to perceive? Ancient practice of perceptual expansion. At dawn or dusk, soften the imagined barrier around your desire. Breathe into expanded perception and see it as an existing reality calling to be recognized. Chapter 6. Feeling as the Summoning Force. In a valley between ancient mountains lived a young man named Harlan Pierce. Though skilled in the art of healing, he noticed something peculiar. His patients recovered swiftly when his heart brimmed with joy, yet their healing slowed when worry clouded his spirit. At first he dismissed these patterns as coincidence. One evening, while tending his garden, Harlan witnessed a remarkable sight. The flowers seemed to lean toward him when his heart sang with contentment, their petals opening wider, their colors growing more vibrant. Yet when his thoughts turned to darker matters, the same blooms appeared to withdraw, their petals curling inward as if protecting themselves from an unseen storm. Through patient observation, Harlan uncovered a truth that transformed his understanding. His emotional state acted as an invisible magnet, drawing forth corresponding conditions in the physical world. His feelings were not merely internal experiences, but powerful forces that shaped the very fabric of reality around him. The wisdom Harlan discovered reveals an essential truth. Your emotions are not passive responses to life, but active commands to the universe. Each feeling you maintain becomes a magnetic force, attracting circumstances, events, and experiences that match its specific frequency. This is why two people can face identical situations, yet create vastly different outcomes. Their emotional states serve as different instructions to the universal mind. When you understand this principle, you realize that waiting to feel good until after your desires manifest is like waiting for a mirror to smile first. Your emotional state is not meant to be a reaction to circumstances, but rather the cause from which circumstances spring forth. The universe responds not to your words or actions, but to the magnetic pull of your sustained emotional energy. Consider now the tale of Evelyn Brooks, who lived in a small coastal town. For years, she maintained herself in a state of careful preparation, believing she needed to guard against misfortune. Her life reflected this emotional tendency. Everything worked out just well enough to survive, but never enough to truly thrive. One morning, watching the sunrise paint the ocean in gold, Evelyn made a bold decision. Instead of waiting for circumstances to lift her spirits, she would choose joy first. She began each day by deliberately cultivating feelings of abundance and gratitude, regardless of external conditions. Within weeks, opportunities began appearing as if by magic. A chance encounter led to a fulfilling new career. An unexpected letter brought news of an inheritance. Old relationships healed, and new ones blossomed. The outer world had begun reflecting her inner emotional climate with precise accuracy. Just as Evelyn discovered, you hold the power to shift your life's trajectory through conscious emotional choice. Your feelings are not simply reactions to be managed, but powerful creative forces to be wielded with purpose. Every emotion you maintain sends ripples through the quantum field, attracting experiences that match its particular frequency. Ancient practice, the emotional seed. Each morning, return to a moment of pure limitlessness and let its elevated emotion expand within you until it becomes the creative frequency shaping your day. Chapter 7. Belief as the Architect of Matter. In a bustling market square, Leonard Briggs toiled endlessly at his merchant stall, watching others achieve prosperity with seemingly less effort. Day after day he arrived earlier and stayed later, convinced that sheer determination would bring him success. Yet despite his relentless work, abundance remained elusive. One morning, an old sage paused at his stall. "Your shelves speak of your belief in scarcity," the sage observed. Puzzled, Leonard looked at his carefully arranged wares. Indeed, he had unconsciously positioned them to stretch across the shelves, creating an illusion of fullness that masked their sparsity. This simple observation awakened him to a profound truth. His belief in scarcity had been shaping his reality more powerfully than all his physical efforts combined. Your thoughts, like Leonard's, construct invisible frameworks that determine what manifests in your physical world. These thought structures act as molds into which the universal energy flows, crystallizing into the circumstances of your life. When you understand this principle, you recognize that belief is not merely a passive attitude, but an active force that shapes the very foundation of your experience. Each belief you hold creates a specific vibrational frequency that attracts corresponding circumstances. This is why two people facing identical situations can experience entirely different outcomes. Their beliefs create different energetic architectures, drawing forth different manifestations. The universe responds not to your actions first, but to the invisible structure of your beliefs. Consider how water takes the shape of its container. Similarly, the infinite potential of the universe flows into the container of your beliefs. If your belief container is shaped by limitations, even unlimited potential will manifest as limitation. When you reshape your beliefs, you reshape the mold into which all possibility flows. In a distant village, Agnes Ward lived bound by beliefs inherited from generations of struggle. Life is hard, she had learned, and good fortune comes rarely. These beliefs manifested as precisely as an architect's blueprint, creating a life that proved them true. Yet one day, while writing in her journal, Agnes noticed how her words echoed her grandmother's warnings about life's difficulties. In that moment, she understood. She had been living someone else's belief architecture. With newfound awareness, Agnes began consciously crafting new beliefs. She wrote new stories about possibility, abundance, and joy. Gradually, her world transformed to match her renewed inner architecture. Opportunities appeared where there had been walls, and paths opened where there had been barriers. Agnes's journey mirrors your own potential for transformation. The beliefs you hold are not permanent structures, but flexible blueprints that can be redesigned. Just as an architect can draft new plans, you possess the power to redraw the blueprints of your inner world. Ancient practice of belief. Reconstruction. At dawn or dusk, identify a limiting belief, write its empowered opposite, and for 7 days feel this new belief as a golden structure restoring your natural, limitless potential. Chapter 8. The Echo of Past Vibrations. In a serene valley, Franklin Moore spent his days tending to his orchard. For years he observed a peculiar pattern. Certain trees would bear abundant fruit while others struggled, despite receiving identical care. One autumn morning, while gathering fallen leaves, he discovered an ancient scroll tucked beneath the roots of his most prosperous tree. The scroll contained writings about the law of vibration, revealing that every thought and action sends ripples through time. As Franklin studied his orchard through this new lens, he realized that the thriving trees stood where he had once buried his hopes and dreams in the soil, while the struggling ones marked spots where he had planted his doubts and fears. Within you lies this same creative force. Every moment pulses with energy that ripples outward, touching the shores of tomorrow. These vibrations, born from your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, do not dissolve into nothingness. They return as the circumstances you encounter. The universe operates through this eternal dance of cause and effect. Your present reality mirrors the energy you released in past moments, just as your future will reflect the vibrations you send forth today. This is not punishment or reward, but the precise operation of universal law. When you understand this principle, you recognize that your current experiences are not random occurrences, but echoes of your past consciousness. The job you hold, the relationships you nurture, the opportunities you encounter, all these arose from seeds you planted in the garden of your mind. Yet this knowledge brings liberation, not burden. For in each moment, you hold the power to send new vibrations into the universe. Your present thoughts and feelings become the architects of tomorrow's reality. In a distant city lived Martha Reeves, who discovered this truth through her craft as a weaver. Each morning, she would observe how her tapestries reflected her state of mind from the previous day. Peaceful thoughts created harmonious patterns, while worried thoughts manifested as tangled threads. Understanding dawned within her. If today's work showed yesterday's mindset, then today's mindset would shape tomorrow's creation. With this revelation, Martha began approaching her loom with intentional joy and clarity. Within weeks, her tapestries transformed, their beauty attracting admirers from across the land. Martha's journey mirrors the power you possess. Like her, you weave the fabric of your future through the energy you emanate today. Each thought, each feeling becomes a thread in the tapestry of your tomorrow. Sacred practice, the echo of intention. In a still and sacred space, stand at the inner canyon's edge and send a clear emotional tone of your chosen future across the vastness, knowing the vibration will return as lived reality. Remember, the echo you hear tomorrow depends on the note you sound today. Chapter 9. Reality as a Metaphysical Mirror. In a bustling marketplace, Thomas Avery wandered between stalls filled with gleaming mirrors. As a merchant of modest means, he carried himself with stooped shoulders, averting his gaze from the finer goods. Each time he glimpsed his reflection, the mirrors seemed to mock his shabby appearance. One day, he discovered an ancient mirror in a forgotten corner of the market. Unlike the others, this mirror showed him standing tall, dressed in fine clothes, commanding respect. Puzzled, he looked down at his worn attire, then back at the mirror. The reflection remained unchanged. An old sage appeared beside him. "This mirror shows not what you wear, but what you believe yourself to be," he said. "Your life reflects your self-image with perfect accuracy." The truth of these words struck Thomas deeply. He began observing how merchants treated him exactly as he expected to be treated, how opportunities passed him by because he believed himself unworthy, how his income matched his sense of value. Within the depths of consciousness lies a mirror more potent than any physical reflection. This mirror projects your self-concept into the world around you, manifesting as your lived experience. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, cannot help but echo back your deepest beliefs about yourself. Your circumstances, relationships, and achievements all align precisely with your inner image. When you see yourself as capable, doors open. When you know yourself as worthy, abundance flows. When you recognize yourself as powerful, life responds accordingly. This mirror shows no favoritism, knows no exceptions. It reflects with unwavering accuracy the identity you hold within. Those who master this truth understand that to change their world, they must first change their self-image. In a distant village lived Ida Lancaster, who believed herself unremarkable. Her days passed in quiet resignation until she found an inscription carved into an ancient stone. "As within, so without." Intrigued, Ida began reimagining herself. She practiced seeing herself as confident, capable, and worthy. At first, nothing seemed to change, but gradually she noticed subtle shifts. People began seeking her counsel. Opportunities arose unexpectedly, and her talents found recognition. Just as Ida discovered, you hold the power to reshape your reflection. The mirror of life responds not to wishes or wants, but to your fundamental beliefs about who you are. Every shift in self-image creates ripples of transformation in your external world. The ancient practice of identity revision. Sit in stillness and clearly envision the self you now choose to be, feeling this new identity as already true until it becomes your natural state. Remember, the mirror cannot show what you hope to become, only what you believe you are. Change the image within, and watch as the world shifts to match your new reflection. Chapter 10. The First Forbidden Glyph. In the archives of an ancient library, Caleb Winslow spent his days translating forgotten manuscripts. As sunlight filtered through dust-laden air, he noticed something extraordinary, a shimmering symbol hovering above the aged parchments. At first he dismissed it as fatigue from hours of study. Yet each time his mind settled into deep concentration, the luminous mark reappeared. This sacred symbol, the glyph of inner sight, reveals itself only when consciousness expands beyond ordinary perception. Like a flower opening to morning light, your awareness must unfold to glimpse this timeless sigil. The glyph exists as a bridge between visible and invisible realms. It manifests not through physical sight, but through the eye of heightened consciousness. When you still the churning waters of thought, this symbol emerges as naturally as stars appear in the evening sky. It serves as confirmation that you have crossed the threshold between surface awareness and deeper knowing. This symbol appears differently to each initiate, yet its essence remains unchanged, a visual representation of awakened perception. It may manifest as geometric patterns, flowing light, or sacred script. Its form matters less than its function as a doorway to expanded consciousness. The glyph acts as both key and compass, unlocking dormant capacities while guiding you toward greater understanding. When it appears, know that you have accessed a deeper layer of reality, one that has always existed beneath the veil of ordinary perception. Consider now the tale of Lydia Monroe, who discovered the glyph during her morning meditation. As she sat in silence, golden light began forming intricate patterns before her inner vision. The more she aligned with her authentic power, the brighter the symbol glowed. Through this luminous sign, she recognized her readiness to wield greater creative force. The glyph that appeared to Lydia mirrors the dormant power within you. Just as she witnessed this sacred symbol illuminate in response to her alignment, you too carry this capacity for expanded perception. The glyph serves as your own inner confirmation that you have crossed the threshold into deeper awareness. Sacred practice. The glyph. Activation. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Allow your breath to become slow and steady. Imagine a point of light appearing in your mind's eye. Watch as this light begins forming your personal glyph, the unique symbol of your awakening consciousness. See it growing clearer and brighter as you align with your inner power. Let this glyph become your gateway to expanded awareness. Part 2. The Deep Art of Inner Alchemy. Chapter 11. The Structure of Unseen Forces. In a time beyond memory, Beatrice Langford walked through her garden at twilight. As shadows lengthened across stone paths, she noticed something peculiar. The way flowers arranged themselves seemed to follow an invisible pattern, like notes in a celestial symphony. Night after night, she observed this hidden orchestration until she realized it wasn't just her garden. The entire world moved according to unseen blueprints. This revelation marks the threshold where surface reality parts to reveal deeper truths. What appears as chance or circumstance flows from vibrational foundations laid in the subtle realms. Every outcome, every situation, materializes from an energetic architecture that precedes physical form. The universe operates through precise vibrational frequencies. These frequencies combine and interact, creating patterns that eventually crystallize into tangible experience. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, generate specific vibrations that attract corresponding circumstances. This is not metaphor, but metaphysical mechanics, the exact science of manifestation. Like master architects of old who understood sacred geometry, you possess the innate ability to design the energetic blueprints of your reality. Each moment, you unconsciously transmit frequencies that shape events. By bringing this process into conscious awareness, you gain the power to intentionally structure your experiences. Harold Whitmore discovered this truth through an unexpected path. For years, his business ventures faltered despite careful planning. One morning, in meditation, he perceived the energetic framework underlying his circumstances, a pattern of scarcity and limitation he had unknowingly constructed. With this awareness came understanding. By redesigning his inner architecture, he could transform outer results. Over months, Harold methodically replaced old vibrational patterns with new ones. He visualized success not as a distant goal, but as an immediate, energetic reality. Soon, opportunities emerged that perfectly matched his revised inner blueprint. His transformation demonstrates how changing subtle structures creates tangible change. Your life reflects the architectural plans you hold in consciousness. Every belief forms a beam, every thought a building block in the structure of your experience. When you understand this, you recognize your role as the master architect of your destiny. The power to reshape your reality lies not in forcing external change, but in redesigning internal patterns. The ancient practice of blueprint revision. Each day, reshape the energetic blueprint of your life in stillness, holding your revised inner design until your outer world naturally aligns with it. Chapter 12. The Atmosphere That Creates Your Life. In a distant valley, Elias Porter tended his fields each morning, watching how the atmosphere above shaped everything below. Some days, dark clouds gathered and his crops wilted, while on others, golden sunlight streamed down and his plants flourished. Over time, he noticed a peculiar pattern. These weather patterns seemed to mirror his inner state with unwavering precision. You are now ready to understand one of the most guarded secrets of reality's architecture. Your emotional atmosphere creates the climate in which your life unfolds. Just as physical weather shapes the growth of crops, your inner weather patterns determine what can and cannot manifest in your experience. The ancient masters knew that emotions are not merely feelings. They are vibrational frequencies that structure the very fabric of your reality. Every thought you hold, every belief you maintain, creates ripples in this emotional atmosphere. These ripples become the blueprints for physical manifestation. When your inner atmosphere remains clouded with doubt, fear, or resignation, life responds by manifesting experiences that match these frequencies. But when you cultivate an inner climate of peace, certainty, and joy, reality rearranges itself to reflect this elevated state. This is not metaphor. It is metaphysical law. Consider Josephine Clark, who lived in a small coastal town. For years, her life seemed bound by limitation and scarcity. Then one morning, watching waves crash upon the shore, she realized that just as the ocean's currents shaped the coastline, her emotional currents shaped her life's landscape. With this understanding, Josephine began to consciously regulate her inner atmosphere. She stopped allowing external circumstances to dictate her emotional weather. Instead, She chose her inner climate with the same deliberation one might choose what to wear. When challenges arose, she maintained her inner sunshine. When opportunities appeared, she cultivated an atmosphere of grateful expectation. Within months, her external reality began to shift. Just as plants grow differently in different climates, new possibilities sprouted in the warmth of her transformed inner atmosphere. Relationships improved, opportunities multiplied, and long-standing obstacles dissolved, not by chance, but by law. This transformation mirrors the power that lies dormant within you. Your emotional atmosphere is not at the mercy of external conditions. You are the master of your inner weather, the architect of your vibrational climate. Every moment offers a choice. Will you allow circumstances to determine your inner state, or will you choose the atmosphere in which you wish your desires to grow? Ancient practice for atmospheric mastery. Sit in stillness, choose your inner atmosphere, breathe it into being, and let your world reshape itself in the image of your chosen emotional sky. Chapter 13. The Law of Energetic Matching. At the edge of a bustling marketplace, Roland Bates sat observing the endless flow of commerce. Day after day, he watched some merchants thrive while others struggled, until he glimpsed a truth that changed everything. The successful traders carried themselves with an air of prosperity that matched their desired outcomes, while those who struggled emanated frequencies misaligned with abundance. Your inner atmosphere operates through the immutable law of energetic equivalence. This ancient principle reveals that manifestation occurs only when your vibrational state matches what you wish to attract. Like attracts like, not by chance, but by cosmic law. The universe responds with mathematical precision to the frequency you maintain. When you hold thoughts of lack, you create an atmosphere that can only sustain lack. When you cultivate thoughts of abundance, you generate the conditions for prosperity to flourish. Helen Crawford understood this principle when her fortunes transformed overnight. For years, she had yearned for advancement in her work, yet remained stuck despite her efforts. Then one morning, she made a crucial shift. Rather than longing for success, she began living from the identity of someone already successful. She carried herself differently, spoke differently, and most importantly, felt different. Within days, opportunities that had been invisible suddenly appeared, as if by magic. But there was no magic, only perfect energetic alignment. Helen's story mirrors a power you already possess. Your emotional atmosphere isn't something that happens to you. It's something you generate moment by moment through your chosen identity.
If you enjoyed this exclusive
when you
audiobook,
align your inner climate with your desires,
book, which will change
the
your
outer
life.
world must reshape itself to match. The ancient practice of atmospheric alignment. Assume the identity of one who already has your desire. Hold its emotional tone each morning, and let your outer world rearrange itself to match the inner climate you command. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Identity Gate. A merchant named Marvin Rhodes spent years studying ancient texts about manifestation. He diligently practiced visualization, repeated affirmations, and maintained unwavering focus on his desires. Yet prosperity continued to elude him. Though he followed every technique precisely, his circumstances remained unchanged. What Marvin failed to recognize was that he still saw himself as someone struggling to succeed. His core identity remained misaligned with what he wished to attract. The law of energetic matching reveals a truth so fundamental that it shapes every aspect of manifestation. You can only receive what resonates with who you believe yourself to be. Your identity acts as the gatekeeper of manifestation, allowing or blocking experiences based on their vibrational alignment with your self-concept. When you attempt to attract experiences that conflict with your identity, you create resistance that no technique can overcome. The universe responds not to what you want, but to who you are. This is why surface-level changes in thought or action often fail to produce lasting results. They do not address the foundational frequency of your being. Consider how a radio can only receive signals that match its tuning. Similarly, your identity determines which experiences can manifest in your reality. This is not a limitation, but a precise mechanism ensuring that universal law operates with perfect consistency. In a quiet village, Estelle Briggs discovered this principle through an unexpected shift. Rather than struggling to make things happen, she began to embody the identity of one who naturally receives. She stopped trying to manifest, and instead became the person for whom her desires were natural expressions of being. As Estelle shifted her identity from seeker to receiver, her entire reality transformed. Opportunities appeared effortlessly, relationships harmonized naturally, and abundance flowed without strain. She had not changed her actions. She had changed her fundamental frequency. What Estelle's journey reveals is the power of identity selection. Like her, you possess the ability to choose who you are at the deepest level. Your current identity is not fixed. It is a frequency you maintain through habit and choice. Ancient practice of identity alignment. Become the version of yourself for whom the desire is natural. Hold that identity each day, and let reality reshape itself around your chosen state of being. Chapter 15. The Hidden Technology of Receiving. Long ago, in a bustling market town, lived a merchant named Clifford Hayes, who spent his days pursuing wealth with fierce determination. Each morning he would rise before dawn, meticulously planning his strategies and tirelessly chasing opportunities. Despite his relentless efforts, abundance seemed to slip through his fingers like water. One evening, exhausted from another day of striving, Clifford encountered an aged mystic who watched him with knowing eyes. "You grasp so tightly at what you seek," the mystic observed, "that your hands cannot open to receive what the universe offers." These words struck Clifford's heart with unexpected force. In that moment, he realized that all his chasing had actually created resistance to receiving. The truth, you must understand, lies not in doing more, but in allowing more. The universe operates through a principle of effortless reception, like a flower that naturally opens to receive sunlight without strain or struggle. Your role is not to force manifestation, but to cultivate a state of inner receptivity that attracts your desires naturally. This ancient wisdom reveals that receiving is not an action, but a state of being. When you release the need to control how your desires manifest, you open the channel through which abundance flows. The more you trust in the perfect timing and wisdom of the universe, the more easily your desires find their way to you. In a distant valley, there lived a woman named Faye Donovan, who had spent years pursuing her dreams through force of will alone. She believed that manifesting required constant effort until the day she discovered the power of surrender. As she sat beneath an old oak tree, watching leaves fall in their own perfect rhythm, understanding dawned within her heart. She realized that just as the leaves fell without effort, her desires could manifest without strain. From that day forward, Faye stopped trying to force outcomes. Instead, she cultivated an inner state of peaceful expectancy. To her amazement, opportunities and blessings began flowing into her life with unexpected ease. What she had struggled to achieve for years came naturally once she learned to receive. This tale mirrors the transformation awaiting within you. Like Faye, you may have believed that manifesting requires constant effort and control, yet the deepest power lies in learning to receive. Your journey is not about pushing harder, but opening more fully to the abundance that seeks to reach you. Sacred practice, the channel of reception. Sit quietly. Envision yourself as a clear channel for abundance. Release resistance and simply allow the universe's flow to pass through you each day. Chapter 16. The Quiet Ritual of Alignment. In the quiet hills beyond the city walls, a humble gardener named Gerald Morton tended his flowers with patience and care. Day after day, he noticed that the smallest adjustments, a slight change in watering time, a minor shift in plant positioning, would dramatically affect his garden's vitality. While others sought grand solutions, Gerald discovered that mastery lay in the subtle refinements. One morning, as he adjusted a rose stem by mere inches, understanding blossomed within him. He realized this same principle governed his inner world. The slightest shift in his thoughts or feelings would reshape his entire experience. When he felt misaligned, he no longer waited for major transformations. Instead, he made tiny internal adjustments until harmony returned. The ancient wisdom speaks of alignment not as a destination, but as an ongoing practice of subtle attunement. Like a master musician who knows that excellence lies in minute adjustments of finger placement and bow pressure, you too must learn the art of inner fine-tuning. The power lies not in dramatic changes, but in consistent, precise calibration of your thoughts, feelings, and energy. Your state of alignment determines what manifests in your experience. Each moment offers an opportunity to adjust your inner dial, to shift slightly toward greater harmony with your desires. These micro-movements, performed consistently, create profound transformation over time. The masters of manifestation understood that power lies not in force, but in precision. Through centuries, initiates have preserved this knowledge. The universe responds not to the magnitude of your actions, but to the quality of your alignment. When you feel resistance or discord, the solution often requires only the smallest internal shift, a subtle adjustment in perspective, a gentle softening of resistance, a quiet realignment of energy. In the heart of a bustling town lived Leona Fairfax, who had always believed that meaningful change required dramatic action. Yet as she learned the art of subtle alignment, she discovered that tiny daily adjustments yielded more powerful results than her previous grand gestures. Each morning, she would take a few moments to fine-tune her inner state, adjusting her thoughts like delicate instruments until they resonated with her desires. Over time, Leona noticed that life responded not to her efforts but to her alignment. When she maintained this practice of gentle daily attunement, opportunities appeared naturally. Relationships harmonized effortlessly, and her path cleared without struggle. Her journey reveals that mastery lies not in forcing change, but in maintaining consistent inner alignment. Your path mirrors this ancient understanding. Like Gerald and Leona, you possess the ability to shift your reality through subtle internal adjustments. Each moment offers an opportunity to align more precisely with your desires. This is not about dramatic transformations, but about the power of quiet consistency. Sacred practice, the daily alignment ritual. Each morning, sit in stillness, scan your inner landscape, and gently tune your frequency until it aligns with your highest vision, opening the flow for your desires. Chapter 17. The Shadow Desire. In the quiet hills beyond the city walls, a merchant named Victor Alden walked alone at dawn, his heart heavy with an inexplicable weight. Despite his earnest efforts to manifest abundance, something unseen kept pulling him back into scarcity. Each time success approached, he found himself making choices that led away from his stated desires. On this particular morning, as the sun cast long shadows across his path, Victor paused by an ancient well. Gazing into its depths, he saw not just his reflection, but the truth he had been avoiding. Within him lived two opposing wishes. While his conscious mind yearned for wealth, a deeper part feared the responsibility and visibility that came with it. This hidden contradiction had been the architect of his limitations. The universe speaks in the language of clarity. When your inner world holds competing frequencies, the higher cannot manifest while the lower remains active. Like water seeking its level, your experience will always settle at the frequency of your deepest, most subtle belief. The shadow desires, those unconscious fears and resistances, act as powerful counterforces to your conscious intentions. These shadow desires arise from ancient protective patterns, from times when staying small meant staying safe. Yet these old guardians now serve as barriers to your expansion. The path to manifestation requires bringing these hidden contradictions into the light, not to battle them, but to understand and dissolve them through awareness. In the marketplace of a distant city, Irene Calloway discovered this truth through her own journey. For years, she had proclaimed her desire for deep love, while unconsciously pushing away every genuine connection. One evening, as she sat in quiet contemplation, she recognized the whisper of fear beneath her longing, the fear of loss, of vulnerability, of repeating old wounds. Rather than fighting this fear, Irene sat with it, acknowledged its protective intent, and gradually allowed it to dissolve in the light of understanding. As her inner contradiction cleared, love flowed into her life with natural ease. Her experience mirrors the universal principle. When shadow and light align, manifestation occurs without effort. Your own path to creation requires this same gentle investigation. The power lies not in forcing change, but in bringing awareness to the subtle contradictions within. As you illuminate these shadow desires, you create space for your true intentions to manifest unimpeded. Ancient practice of shadow dissolution. At twilight, observe any hidden resistance around a desire with compassion. Let it dissolve in awareness, and affirm your full alignment with its manifestation each day for 7 days. Chapter 18. Surrender as a Magnetic Field. In a remote monastery garden, Norman Adler sat beneath a towering oak, wrestling with an inner struggle. For years he had pushed, planned, and forced his way through life, believing control was the path to achievement. Yet the more he grasped, the more his desires seemed to slip away like water through clenched fingers. One morning, exhausted from his endless striving, Norman finally released his grip. In that moment of complete surrender, something extraordinary occurred. Opportunities began flowing toward him effortlessly. The very things he had chased now pursued him, drawn by the magnetic space his surrender had created. You, too, hold this sacred key within you. The universe operates through a profound paradox. The more you release your iron grip on outcomes, the more powerfully you attract them. This is not passive resignation, but active allowing. When you cease to wrestle with life, you align with its natural flow. This alignment creates an energetic vacuum that the universe rushes to fill. Your desires manifest not through force, but through surrender to the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all creation. Each time you release resistance, you remove the barriers between you and your good. Consider how water flows. It does not fight its way through rock, but surrenders to gravity, finding the path of least resistance. In its yielding state, it shapes mountains and carves valleys. This is the power that becomes available when you release the need to control every detail. Pearl Whitaker discovered this truth in her own journey. For decades, she had meticulously planned every step toward her dreams, leaving no room for divine orchestration. Her breakthrough came when illness forced her to relinquish control. Confined to bed rest, she had no choice but to trust in a higher power. In this space of surrender, Pearl witnessed magic unfold. The very opportunities she had struggled to create now appeared at her doorstep. People called with exactly what she needed. Doors opened without her pushing. Her surrender had activated a magnetic force far more powerful than her striving. Pearl's experience mirrors the potential awaiting your own surrender. When you release your grip on how things must unfold, you allow the universe to exceed your limited imagination. Your role is not to force the path, but to remain open to infinite possibilities. The practice of sacred surrender. Close your eyes. Feel the tension of control. Consciously release it like opening an inner fist, and affirm your trust in life's perfect unfolding. Chapter 19. The Law That Bends to Your Certainty. In the heart of a bustling trading port, Howard Sinclair walked through life weighed down by circumstance. Each morning, he would gaze at the mighty ships in the harbor, yearning to command his own vessel but believing himself bound by the chains of his station. Until one transformative dawn, when something within him shifted. As Howard stood at the water's edge, watching the sun paint gold across the waves, he experienced a moment of profound surrender. In that instant of release, an unmistakable knowing arose within him, not as thought, but as pure certainty. The universe, he realized, was not a rigid structure, but a fluid field responding to the deepest currents of consciousness. Without moving a muscle, he felt the invisible ties that had bound him dissolve like morning mist. Within days, doors began opening. Those who had dismissed him now sought his counsel. Resources appeared as if summoned by an unseen hand. Howard had discovered the magnetic power of surrender, not as weakness, but as alignment with universal forces. The laws that govern reality are not fixed decrees, but living principles that bend to the power of absolute conviction. When you release resistance and align with the inherent abundance of the universe, you activate a magnetic field that draws circumstances into harmony with your inner state. This is not wishful thinking, but a metaphysical technology known to initiates throughout the ages. Surrender creates a vacuum that the universe must fill. When you cease pushing against what is, you open a channel for what can be. Your certainty becomes a command that reality must obey, not through force, but through alignment with deeper currents of creation. In a quiet valley far from the port, Della Montgomery faced her own awakening. For years she had accepted the limitations others placed upon her, until she discovered a profound truth. Limits exist only where belief maintains them. As she systematically withdrew her belief from each restriction, they dissolved like shadows in the light. Della's transformation began when she realized that every barrier in her life existed first in her mind. By consciously withdrawing her belief in these limitations, she discovered they had no power of their own. They were like clouds that appeared solid, but dissolved when touched by the light of awareness. Your own life mirrors this truth. Every circumstance you experience is held in place by your belief in its solidity. The moment you withdraw that belief, reality must reorganize itself to match your new understanding. This is not positive thinking, but the activation of metaphysical law. To practice this ancient art of belief withdrawal, choose one limitation that seems fixed in your life. Sit in silence and feel its apparent solidity. Now deliberately withdraw your belief from it, as you might withdraw your hand from water. Feel your consciousness detach from its seeming reality. Notice how, without your belief sustaining it, the limitation begins to lose its substance. Continue this practice daily until you feel the magnetic field of your new certainty draw a different reality into form. The universe is not a collection of fixed circumstances, but a field of infinite potential awaiting your conscious direction. As you master the art of surrender, you step into your natural role as an architect of reality, not through force, but through the magnetic power of aligned consciousness. Ancient practice of limitation release. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Visualize the limitation you wish to dissolve. Now, imagine your belief as a golden light flowing back into you from this limitation. Feel it returning to its source, your consciousness. As your belief withdraws, watch the limitation become transparent, insubstantial. Hold this state for several minutes, knowing that without your belief, no limitation can maintain its form. Complete this practice at sunrise or sunset, when the veils between worlds are thinnest. Chapter 20. The Metaphysics of Time Manipulation. In the quiet hours before sunrise, Lawrence Bishop sat in his humble workshop repairing timepieces. Each morning for 30 years he had followed this same routine, until the day he stumbled upon a truth so powerful it altered the fabric of his reality. As he worked, Lawrence noticed something extraordinary. Time itself seemed to flow differently around him. When he held absolute certainty about completing a complex repair, hours compressed into minutes. When doubt crept in, minutes stretched into hours. Through this simple observation, he uncovered one of the universe's most guarded secrets. Time itself bows to unwavering certainty. The laws governing your reality are not the rigid structures you once believed them to be. They are living principles that respond to the depth of your conviction. When you grasp this truth, you begin to understand why some manifest their desires instantly while others wait endlessly. It is not time that determines manifestation, but the unwavering certainty you hold within. This certainty is not wishful thinking or desperate hoping. It is a knowing so complete that questioning becomes impossible. When you reach this state, the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself around your conviction. Just as water must flow downhill, reality must align with unshakable certainty. Violet Mercer discovered this truth when facing seemingly impossible odds. While others spoke of gradual progress and long-term plans, she held an inner knowing that transcended time itself. She didn't hope for her desire. She knew it as an accomplished fact. Within days, what others deemed impossible materialized before her eyes. The universe simply reorganized itself to match her certainty. Her experience mirrors a power you already possess. Every moment of absolute knowing in your life has bent reality to match your certainty. Think of times when you knew beyond doubt that something would occur, not through logic or evidence, but through pure inner knowing. In those moments, you wielded the same power that shapes worlds. The ancient practice of certainty. Anchoring. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and bring to mind one desire you wish to manifest. Now, instead of hoping or wishing, you will anchor absolute certainty into your being. Breathe deeply and feel the desire as already accomplished, not in some distant future, but as a present fact. Allow your entire being to align with this knowing. Feel it in your cells, in your breath, in the space between your thoughts. When doubt arises, simply observe it without resistance, knowing it holds no power against your certainty. Hold this state for several minutes until you feel your desire anchored as an immutable fact within your consciousness. This practice, when performed daily, dissolves the illusion of time between you and your manifestation. For in the realm of pure certainty, time becomes your servant rather than your master. Part 3. Mastery of the Forbidden Metaphysics. Chapter 21. The Sovereign Field. In the mountains far from civilization, Alistair Coleman lived a simple life tending to his garden. One stormy morning, as dark clouds gathered and thunder shook the earth, he made a discovery that would forever change his understanding of reality's deeper laws. While others rushed to shelter, Alistair remained perfectly still, maintaining an inexplicable sense of peace. As rain poured and wind howled, he noticed something remarkable. The chaos around him seemed to respond to his inner state. Where he directed his calm attention, the storm appeared to soften. Where his mind wandered into concern, the tempest intensified. Through countless storms that followed, Alistair refined this observation. He discovered that his chosen inner state held authority over external circumstances. The weather might rage, yet within his sphere of consciousness, he remained untouched by its fury. The truth reveals itself with pristine clarity. Your inner state holds supreme command over your experience of reality. This is not mere perception, but a fundamental law of consciousness. The outer world must conform to your inner sovereign choice, for consciousness is the primary substance from which all manifestation flows. When you claim your position as a sovereign being, the universe has no choice but to reflect your chosen state. This is not arrogance, but the natural order. Consciousness shapes matter, not the reverse. Your inner atmosphere determines your outer experience with mathematical precision. Time itself bends to accommodate your sovereign state. When you stand firmly in your chosen consciousness, external events reorganize themselves to match your inner reality. This is why two people can face identical circumstances, yet experience entirely different outcomes. Each receives according to their state of being. In a small cottage by the sea, Louise Garland discovered this truth through her own awakening. For years, she had allowed external events to dictate her inner state. Then one morning, she made a radical choice. She would maintain joy regardless of circumstances. That very day, her business faced a crisis that would have previously thrown her into panic. Yet Louise held steady in her chosen state of peaceful confidence. Within hours, solutions appeared that no one had seen before. Opportunities emerged from unexpected directions. The entire situation transformed, not through her doing, but through her being. Louise's experience mirrors the power that lies dormant within you. Your sovereign state is not a reaction to circumstances, but a choice that precedes them. When you claim this truth, your entire reality must shift to reflect your inner kingdom. The ancient practice of sovereign state selection. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Now imagine you are seated on an inner throne, the seat of your consciousness. From this position of authority, select the state you choose to embody. It might be unshakable peace, absolute confidence, or boundless joy. Feel this state filling every cell of your being. Know with certainty that this is your natural position, not as a response to life, but as its creator. Hold this state for several minutes, allowing it to become your new baseline. Open your eyes and carry this sovereign consciousness with you throughout your day. Remember, you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the sovereign ruler of your inner kingdom, and reality must bow to your chosen state. Chapter 22. The Assumption Command. In a quiet village among ancient hills, Everett Shaw lived a seemingly ordinary life until he stumbled upon an extraordinary truth. Each morning, he would walk through the marketplace, and peculiar patterns began to emerge. When he carried an unwavering assumption of abundance, merchants would mysteriously offer him their finest goods at reduced prices. When he held an assumption of scarcity, even the most common items appeared unavailable. Through these experiences, a veiled law of existence revealed itself. The world bent and shifted according to his assumptions with precise accuracy. What Everett assumed with absolute conviction manifested with unwavering certainty. The universe operates through an immutable principle. Your assumptions are not mere thoughts, but commands issued to the very fabric of reality. Every assumption you hold creates a corresponding pattern in the physical world. This is not wishful thinking or blind optimism, but rather a metaphysical technology that shapes circumstances with mathematical precision. When you assume something to be true, you activate forces far more potent than mere probability. Your assumption becomes a decree that reality must honor. The universe does not question or debate your assumptions. It simply configures itself to match them with perfect fidelity. This principle operates with such precision that it can be tested in any circumstance. When you assume with unwavering certainty that something is done, the universe must rearrange itself to manifest that assumption. This is why masters of old guarded this knowledge so carefully. They understood that every assumption is a command that must be fulfilled. Consider Frances Odell, who discovered this truth through an unexpected experience. After years of struggling to advance in her work, she made a simple yet profound shift. She assumed with complete conviction that she was already established in her ideal position. She did not hope, wish, or even believe. She simply knew it as an accomplished fact. Within days, circumstances began reorganizing themselves around her assumption. Opportunities appeared that perfectly matched her assumption's content. People she had never met suddenly reached out with proposals aligned with her assumed position. The universe moved with swift precision to manifest the reality she had assumed into being. Frances's experience mirrors a capacity that lies dormant within you. Just as she commanded reality through pure assumption, you possess the same ability to shape circumstances through your assumed state. The key lies not in hoping or believing, but in assuming with such conviction that doubt becomes impossible. This knowledge returns you to your natural state as a conscious commander of reality. Your assumptions are not passive observations, but active instructions that the universe must follow. When you assume something is done, you issue an irrevocable command that sets forces in motion to manifest that assumption. Ancient practice of sovereign assumption. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and select one desire you wish to manifest. Now, assume with absolute conviction that it is already fulfilled, not as a future possibility, but as a present fact. Feel the natural satisfaction of its completion. Let this assumption sink so deeply into your consciousness that its fulfillment feels inevitable. Hold this state for several minutes, knowing that your assumption has already set the forces of manifestation in motion. Repeat this practice daily until your assumption feels as natural as breathing. Chapter 23. Energetic Dominion. In a secluded mountain village, Sylvester Crane awoke each morning to a wall of seemingly insurmountable conditions. His business struggled, his relationships faltered, and his dreams remained distant stars. Yet one dawn, as he sat beneath an ancient oak tree, wisdom descended like morning dew. As he watched the sun rise, Sylvester noticed how shadows dissolved not through struggle, but through the simple presence of light. In that moment, he understood. What he fought against persisted, while what he released dissolved of its own accord. The unseen architecture of existence now stands revealed. Your attention acts as a beam of light, bringing into sharp relief whatever it touches. This power of focus operates with mathematical precision, strengthening or weakening circumstances according to where you place your awareness. Within the depths of your consciousness lies this sacred truth. Reality responds not to your desires alone, but to the sustained direction of your attention. Like water flowing through channels, your life force energizes whatever captures your focus. This is not mere theory, but a metaphysical principle that shapes the very substance of your experience. When you withdraw attention from an unwanted condition, you initiate a profound alchemical process. The circumstance, deprived of your life force, begins to lose its apparent solidity. What seemed fixed and immovable reveals itself as simply a pattern maintained by habit of focus. Opal Danvers discovered this truth when faced with seemingly immovable obstacles in her path. Rather than pushing against them, she made a radical choice. She withdrew her attention completely. She turned her awareness toward what she wished to experience instead. As if by magic, those very obstacles that had appeared so solid began to dissolve, revealing clear paths where walls had stood before. This mirrors the power that flows through your own consciousness. Every circumstance you face right now exists in direct proportion to the attention you give it. Your focus acts as nourishment. Withdraw it from unwanted conditions, and they must naturally diminish. The inner practice. Select one unwanted condition in your life. For the next 7 days, withdraw all attention from it. When thoughts of this condition arise, gently redirect your awareness to its opposite, the desired state. Do not fight the unwanted. Simply cease energizing it with your focus. Watch as what seemed solid begins to lose its hold, revealing the fluid nature of all circumstances. What you resist persists, but what you release must dissolve. This is the law that governs all manifestation. Your attention is the key that either locks circumstances in place or sets them free to transform. Chapter 24. The One Who Chooses. In a merchant's stall in an ancient bazaar, Raymond Ellery stood frozen between two paths. For years he had believed destiny was a force beyond his control, something that happened to him rather than through him. As he wavered between two choices that day, time seemed to stop, and the veils between worlds grew thin. In that crystallized moment, Raymond glimpsed the invisible architecture of choice. He saw how each selection sent ripples through the fabric of existence, how every decision was not merely an action, but a metaphysical command that shaped reality itself. With this awakening, he understood that what he had called fate was simply the accumulated momentum of his own selections, conscious or unconscious. Within the depths of your consciousness lies this eternal truth. Destiny is not a predetermined script, but a living response to your choices. Each moment presents you with the power to select anew, to command the forces of creation through the act of decisive choice. This is the hidden knowledge that transforms mere existence into conscious creation. Your selections carry metaphysical weight, shaping the very substance of your reality. When you choose with clarity and conviction, you activate forces far beyond the visible realm. This is not about mere preference or casual desire. It is about commanding the cosmic forces through the power of selection. Each choice you make reverberates through the quantum field, arranging and rearranging the particles of possibility. When you select with the full force of your being, you send waves of creative energy through the universe, initiating a cascade of corresponding circumstances. This is the forgotten science of metaphysical selection. In the quiet hours before dawn, Geneva Parker faced a moment of truth. Her life had become a series of half-choices and hesitant maybes. But on this morning, something shifted within her. She realized that her indecision was itself a choice, one that created a reality of perpetual uncertainty. With this understanding, Geneva stepped into her power. She selected her path not with the tentative energy of hope, but with the commanding force of decision. In that instant, the universe began to rearrange itself around her choice. Doors that had seemed forever closed swung open, and opportunities aligned with her selection. Geneva's journey mirrors the power that lies dormant within you. Like her, You possess the ability to shape your reality through conscious selection. Each time you choose with clarity and conviction, you command the forces of creation to align with your decision. The practice of sovereign selection. Sit in absolute stillness for a moment. Bring to mind one desire that calls to your soul. Now, rather than hoping or wishing, make your selection with the full force of your being. Speak these words with unwavering authority. I select this now. Feel the metaphysical weight of your choice rippling through reality. Hold this selection in your consciousness for several minutes, knowing that your choice has already begun to reshape the fabric of existence. Chapter 25. Intention as a Cosmic Directive. In a quiet garden at dawn, Irving Dalton noticed how the morning glories responded to the first rays of sunlight. Some flowers turned instantly toward the light, while others remained closed, seemingly resistant to the day's invitation. As he observed this dance between light and life, Irving recognized a profound truth about the nature of intention. Each morning, he had watched these flowers without truly seeing the deeper principle at work. Today was different. He witnessed how the flowers that opened with clear, unwavering intention received the sun's blessing immediately, while those that hesitated remained in shadow. The universe operates through precise metaphysical laws. Your intention acts as a directive force, commanding the invisible currents that shape manifestation. When you set an intention with clarity and certainty, you activate forces beyond physical sight that begin arranging circumstances in alignment with your command. This power of intention transcends mere hoping or wishing. It is a precise technology of consciousness, one that ancient wisdom keepers understood with remarkable depth. Your intention carries the authority to reorganize energy patterns, redirect probability streams, and crystallize new possibilities into form. Consider how a master archer releases an arrow. The outcome is determined not by the release itself, but by the clarity of aim that preceded it. Your intention functions in the same way. Its precision determines what manifests in your experience. Margaret Leighton discovered this truth during a period of seemingly endless confusion. Her life had become a maze of half-formed desires and unclear directions until she learned to harness the power of precise intention. One evening, sitting in her study, she cleared away all distractions and set a single, crystal-clear intention regarding her life's work. In that moment of absolute clarity, the fog of confusion dissolved. Circumstances began rearranging themselves with remarkable efficiency. Opportunities appeared, aligned perfectly with her intention. People who could assist her emerged as if summoned. The universe responded not to her wishes or hopes, but to the unwavering clarity of her intention. Just as Margaret's experience demonstrates, you possess this same ability to direct the unseen forces of creation. The key lies not in the strength of your desire, but in the precision of your intention. When you set an intention with the same clarity as light passing through a focused lens, you activate the universe's response with similar precision. The ancient practice of intention setting. Find a quiet space where you will remain undisturbed. Take 3 deep breaths to center yourself. Now, select one desire and translate it into a clear, precise intention. State this intention silently 3 times, each time imagining it as a beam of light growing stronger and more focused. Feel the intention moving from thought into the fabric of reality itself. Complete this practice when the moon is new, marking the perfect moment for planting new directives in the field of infinite possibility. Chapter 26. Becoming the Future Self. In the heart of an ancient marketplace, Cyrus Pendleton walked among the bustling stalls, carrying the weight of unfulfilled dreams. Each morning he imagined his future self, successful, confident, at peace. Yet this morning proved different. As he paused before a weathered mirror between two merchant stands, he saw not his reflection, but a vision of who he would become. In that moment, Cyrus understood. He need not wait for time to transform him. He could embody his future self now. With each breath, he allowed this realized version of himself to merge with his present awareness. His posture shifted, his eyes brightened, and the very air around him seemed to respond to this inner transformation. Within days, opportunities that had seemed distant began appearing in his path, as though time itself had compressed to meet his elevated state of being. The universe responds not to what you wish to become, but to who you are in this moment. When you align your present self with the consciousness of your fulfilled desire, you collapse the perceived distance between now and then. This is the hidden science of embodiment, the art of becoming what you seek before its physical manifestation. Your fulfilled self exists now in the infinite field of possibility. By assuming the feeling, the knowing, and the being of that self, you draw it into your present experience. This is not pretense or imagination, but rather the activation of a dormant frequency within you. Adelaide Morehouse discovered this truth during a seemingly ordinary afternoon. Rather than longing for her desired life, she began to move, speak, and think as though she already lived it. She didn't simply imagine success. She became the successful version of herself in her thoughts, feelings, and actions. The world around her shifted to match this new frequency, bringing opportunities and circumstances that aligned with her embodied state. Adelaide's transformation mirrors the power that lies within you. Just as she stopped reaching for a future version of herself and instead became that self, you too can collapse the illusory gap between who you are and who you wish to be. Ancient practice of embodiment. Choose one trait of your fulfilled self. Perhaps it's confidence, wisdom, or peace. Close your eyes and feel this quality alive within you now. Allow it to infuse your posture, your breath, your movements. For the next 7 days, wake each morning and immediately embody this trait, letting it guide your actions throughout the day. Notice how reality begins to align with this new frequency of being. This practice transcends temporal limitations, allowing you to manifest not by waiting, but by becoming. Chapter 27. The Collapse of the Old Timeline. In the heart of a bustling merchant district, a humble shopkeeper named Fletcher Morrison noticed something peculiar occurring in his world. Objects from his past, cherished mementos and familiar routines, began fading like morning mist. At first he resisted these changes, clutching tightly to what was known and comfortable. Yet as he watched his outdated reality dissolve, he discovered a profound truth. The universe was simply making space for what his evolving consciousness now commanded. When you align with a new version of yourself, the old timeline naturally begins to dissolve. This dissolution is not loss, but liberation, the clearing away of what no longer matches your ascending frequency. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, removes what no longer serves your expanding identity. Your timeline is not fixed, but fluid, responding moment by moment to who you choose to be. As you step into an elevated state of being, the old reality cannot persist. It must transform to match your new vibration. This is the hidden mechanism behind all authentic transformation. Many resist this dissolution, attempting to maintain both the old and new simultaneously. Yet just as a butterfly cannot remain a caterpillar, you cannot embody your future self while clinging to outdated versions of reality. The release must be complete. Watch closely how Lucille Porter discovered this truth. Each time she aligned with her future self, small endings appeared in her life. A long-term client suddenly departed. A familiar coffee shop closed its doors. Her favorite walking path was rerouted. Yet rather than resisting these changes, Lucille recognized them as confirmation, signs that her reality was rearranging itself to match her new frequency. These endings were not losses, but cosmic acknowledgments. Each dissolution created space for something that matched her emerging identity. The departed client made way for more aligned opportunities. The closed coffee shop led her to new connections. The altered path opened fresh perspectives. Your journey mirrors this pattern. When you truly step into a new identity, the old reality must dissolve. These endings are not setbacks, but signatures of alignment, proof that the universe is responding to your inner shift. The ancient practice of timeline release remains one of the most potent tools for transformation. Select one aspect of your current reality that reflects your old identity. It may be a habit, relationship, or circumstance that no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Sit in silence and consciously withdraw your energy from this element. Feel it dissolve naturally, making space for what your future self now calls forth. Trust that what dissolves creates space for what your new identity commands. Chapter 28. Non-Reaction as Mastery. In a monastery perched high in mist-shrouded mountains, Wilbur Hayes arrived seeking answers. For years his life had swung between extremes, fortune and loss, triumph and defeat. Each shift in circumstance triggered an equal shift in his state, until exhaustion led him to this ancient place of stone and silence. For 40 days he watched the monks maintain perfect stillness regardless of what unfolded around them. When storm clouds gathered, they remained unmoved. When provisions ran low, their serenity never wavered. In their presence, Wilbur began to understand true power lies not in controlling external events, but in maintaining unwavering consciousness despite them. The universe responds not to what happens around you, but to your state of being. Every reaction to external circumstances reinforces their seeming reality and grants them power over your consciousness. When you cease to react, you withdraw the energy that sustains these appearances. This is the hidden mechanism behind all manifestation. What you energize through attention and reaction persists in your experience. What you meet with stillness dissolves of its own accord. The outer world is but a mirror, reflecting back the movements of your consciousness. When consciousness remains unmoved, reality must reshape itself to match your stability. Consider how often life's circumstances seem to demand your reaction, the appearance of lack calling for worry, delay triggering impatience, opposition arousing defense. Yet these are the very moments when stillness becomes your greatest power. For in your non-reaction, you withdraw belief from the illusion and stand firm in the truth of your being. Eudora Finch discovered this principle when her business faced repeated setbacks. Rather than react with fear to dwindling resources, she maintained an inner knowing of abundance. She refused to energize lack through worry or desperate action. In her steadfast non-reaction, the appearance of scarcity lost its power. Within weeks, unexpected opportunities emerged, bringing greater prosperity than she had known before. Her journey mirrors the power available to you in this moment. Every circumstance that seems to demand reaction is actually an invitation to mastery. By remaining unmoved, you demonstrate your understanding that external conditions hold no power over your inner state. Sacred practice. The stillness of being. Choose one situation that typically triggers reaction in you. When it next appears, practice conscious non-reaction. Neither resist nor submit to the circumstance. Simply hold your center, knowing that what you do not energize must transform. Let stillness be your power. Watch as reality reshapes itself to match your unwavering consciousness. For in this ancient practice lies the key to mastery, not through outer control, but through the unshakable stillness of your being. In this space of non-reaction, old timelines naturally dissolve, for they cannot persist without the energy of your engagement. As you withdraw reaction, you withdraw the very force that has kept outdated realities in place. This is the subtle art of timeline collapse, not through effort or resistance, but through the power of your conscious non-reaction. Chapter 29. The Void Before Creation. In the depths of an ancient temple, behind walls of weathered stone, Cornelius Thatcher discovered a chamber unlike any other. While other rooms held statues, scrolls, and sacred objects, this space contained nothing. At first, he assumed he had stumbled upon an abandoned storage room. Yet, as he lingered, he sensed something profound in this emptiness. The void holds a power that the untrained eye cannot perceive. In this absolute stillness, Cornelius encountered the raw essence of creation itself, the formless state from which all forms emerge. Here lies the most guarded secret of manifestation. Before anything can come into being, it must first arise from nothing. This emptiness you now explore is not absence, but pure potential. It is the canvas upon which all reality is painted, the silence from which all sounds emerge. When you step back from the constant movement of thought and emotion, you touch the source of all creation. This void is not empty, it is pregnant with infinite possibility. Every master across time has discovered this truth. Manifestation begins not in action, but in stillness. The universe itself emerged from this void, and it remains the wellspring of all creation. When you learn to rest in this space of pure potential, you access the same power that births galaxies. In the bustling marketplace of a coastal town, Beulah Hartman had tried everything to manifest her desires. She had recited affirmations, visualized outcomes, and taken endless action. Yet true transformation eluded her until she learned to step back into nothingness. Each morning, before the world stirred, Beulah would sit in perfect stillness. She released all effort, all striving, all need to make things happen. In this surrender to emptiness, something shifted. Her manifestations began flowing effortlessly, emerging from the void like dawn breaking over still waters. Your journey mirrors this ancient truth. The power you seek does not come through doing more, but through touching the silent source of all doing. When you release the constant need to act, think, and control, you open yourself to the infinite creative force that flows through the universe. The practice, the void meditation. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. For the next few minutes, release all effort to make anything happen. Don't try to manifest, create, or change anything. Simply rest in the formless void of pure being. Notice how this emptiness feels full, alive, pregnant with possibility. Let yourself become this vast space of pure potential. When thoughts arise, let them pass without resistance, maintaining your connection to the void. This is the space from which all creation springs. Chapter 30. The Forbidden Formula. In a hidden garden among ancient stones, Randolph Keaton sat in meditation as dawn broke across the horizon. For years he had mastered individual aspects of manifestation, the power of awareness, the force of identity, and the magnetic pull of feeling. Yet something had always felt incomplete, like instruments playing beautiful but separate melodies. On this morning, as golden light touched his face, these elements suddenly merged within him. His awareness expanded beyond thought. His identity shifted into pure being, and his feeling nature resonated with absolute knowing. In that moment of perfect unity, the world around him transformed instantly, not through effort or technique, but through simple, natural alignment. You too hold these three keys of creation. When your awareness remains clear and unwavering, your identity stands firm in the reality you choose, and your feeling nature vibrates in perfect harmony with your desire. Manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. This is not mere technique, but the original technology of creation itself. The universe responds not to scattered fragments, but to unified wholeness. When you bring together the trinity of awareness, identity, and feeling, you activate the fundamental pattern that shapes reality. This is why some desires manifest instantly, while others linger as distant dreams. The difference lies not in worthiness or technique, but in unification. Selma Whitfield discovered this truth during a moment of perfect clarity. After years of practicing individual methods, she finally understood that manifestation required not better techniques, but deeper integration. As she allowed her awareness to expand while simultaneously embodying her chosen identity and maintaining the feeling of fulfillment, her entire world shifted in an instant. The barriers between desire and manifestation dissolved, revealing that they had always been one. Her experience mirrors the power that awaits your own awakening. You are not learning something new, but remembering an ancient truth. Reality responds to wholeness. When awareness, identity, and feeling align perfectly, creation becomes effortless because you are operating from the original pattern of manifestation itself. The ancient practice of unification. Settle into pure awareness. Embody the self who already has your desire, feel its fulfillment as truth, and hold awareness, identity, and feeling in unified being. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. Across time, masters and initiates have whispered of three elements that, when unified, unlock the ultimate creative power of the universe. These elements were kept separate, taught in fragments, their unity concealed to protect their potency. Now, as you reach this final threshold, the complete formula stands revealed. The first element is pure awareness, that crystalline state of consciousness that sees beyond illusion into the very fabric of creation. It is the witness that knows all forms arise from formlessness, all manifestation emerges from the void. This awareness transcends thought, existing in that space where intention first stirs. The second element is realized identity, not the surface personality that shifts with circumstance, but the deep, unchanging essence that knows itself as source. It is the I am that commands reality through being rather than doing. When you stand firmly in this sovereign identity, the universe can only mirror your certainty. The third element is elevated feeling, not temporary emotion, but that sustained frequency that magnetizes form into being. It is the vibrational signature that calls forth its matching reality, the inner atmosphere that crystallizes experience. Each of these elements holds immense power alone, yet their true potency emerges only in unity. When awareness, identity, and feeling align as one force, you enter the state ancient texts called divine creativity. Here, manifestation becomes effortless, not because you are forcing reality, but because you have aligned with the natural creative process of the universe itself. This alignment cannot be manufactured or pretended. It arises naturally when you release resistance and allow these elements to merge within you. In this unified state, you no longer need to make things happen. Your very presence becomes a creative force. Your being becomes command. The universe has held this wisdom in trust, preserving it through ages until those ready to wield it with wisdom would emerge. Now this knowledge returns to conscious awareness, not as technique to be mastered, but as remembrance of your natural creative essence. Let this understanding settle deeply within you. Feel how these three elements already exist in perfect unity at your core. Notice how reality shifts when you allow them to align naturally, without force or strain. This is the forbidden formula. Forbidden not because it was meant to remain hidden, but because its power requires the wisdom to use it in service of life's highest unfolding. You stand now as guardian of this ancient knowledge, initiated into the lineage of those who understand the true nature of creation. Use this wisdom not to impose your will upon the world, but to align with the creative force that flows through all things. Let your presence be a blessing, your creative power a gift in service of life's greater becoming.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.